Hello everyone and welcome back to... Oh, that's not right. 1 second. There we go. Sorry, the audio should be a bit better now. Welcome back everyone to another stream here from Oman Talks NRL SuperCoach. A little bit earlier than 8:30. Had finished everything I needed to, so I thought we'd get started. But good to see everyone in the chat already. Very interesting week of SuperCoach and footy. If you like sin bins, you got plenty of that. But obviously, I think most of us probably would have preferred a little bit less than that. Some of us hopefully played Sanders Smith for his 129 points. I can tell you now that yours truly was not one of them, unfortunately. I finished on 13-11, which I think is an okay score. It feels about par. I saw a few polls, and most people seem to be around that 1250 to 1350. If you've gone north of 1400, I think it's a very good week. I've actually seen some 1500s in a few leagues as well. I can see a 1515 from Irish Simon 99 in the chat as well. VC Teddy. It really felt like that week where if you were able to nail your captaincy and have it or even a VC on like a Drinkwater, Teddy, if you captained a front rower, like honestly Payne Haas and Terrell May just absolutely killing it. And if you played Sanders Smith, I think those are the people who've really gone huge this week. Unfortunately, I captain Cleary like the majority of people, so only the 54 points. It's a bit frustrating as well because I think I said it maybe in a few chats and stuff, but if I could have done Drinkwater VC into captain Cleary, I would have done that. And at the time that Drinkwater was on 118, I would have probably looped, of course. But look, it is what it is. Drinkwater, I'm happy I traded him in the end for Iongi. The 132 points was very good. Gutherson, a bit of a problem though with only the 44. Pappy was fine with 66, but I wasn't going to loop that. Yeah, 1494 Captain Drinky from Pat Edmonds. 1336 Captain Cleary from Mark Lawless, so it feels about what I had. Yeah, had Smith and Robert Derby on the bench. Oh, that's a tough one. Robert Derby, if you owned him, I played Purdy. I wanted to play all the Cowboy players I could against the Titans. First half was looking a little bit dire, but then second half, obviously, the Cowboys turned it on. Have to give a shout out to Benny G, obviously a massive fan of the channel and absolute legend. I was versing him in one league, and he got the cookies in this one. So he said 13-11 is a good score, but if you go to your leagues and look for head-to-head against Wirrama Tradesgorn, which is still one of the best team names ever, you will see that it was not enough, my good man. 13-11 I think is fine. I'm not sure where that sits me in terms of green arrows, red arrows. I feel like it's probably going to be small red arrows just at my rank. I'm about 1,100. A few weeks in a row now of some small drops, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. And hopefully it's just making some of these small decisions. I will try to maybe spend a bit more time in the streams in the preview streams on sit starts and matchups, because I think that is really important. Like I didn't play, for example, Sanders Smith, of course, and he went huge. I told a couple of people to play him versus like a Tamale, which I felt like was an easier decision. But looking at it in hindsight, Naf White versus Sanders Smith, obviously you're thinking, I went with Naf White because he went well last week, and Sanders Smith, I just never quite know what the Dragons are going to do on the Anzac Day clash. Obviously in this game, the Roosters really trounced them, and Sanders Smith was the beneficiary with 2 tries and of course all the goal kicking. So yeah, I think the highlights for me were most of the same highlights for everyone. So Payne Haas, Terrell May. We'll talk about strategy on captaining maybe at the end of the stream, but I do think it's very viable to go VC into your high upside guys like your fullbacks and just captain a front rower. Honestly, Payne Haas and Terrell May just going guns blazing. Even on a bad day, they'll punch out like 75, 80. It's more than what Cleary got this week. It's just that the people who captain Gutherson a few weeks ago, Drinkwater this week, you're getting the big 130s, but on average per round, you're probably better off captaining one of these front row forwards while they're still going amazing. Ruben Garrick was really good with 98. Drinkwater was a trade-in with 132, was very good. Jerome Hughes actually updated quite well, so he went up to 76. Matty Nicholson was also good, and Corey Horsburgh played a few more extra minutes today, 55, and pumped out 72, which was very pleasing to see as well. Eli Katoa and Tino, all the guys who went well for me, apart from maybe Matty Nicholson, Jerome Hughes, because a few people have started selling Matty Nicholson. I feel like all the players who did well, most other people own. So I didn't feel like I really got that much of an advantage. That's why the likes of those who played Sanders Smith, or if you went and captained like a Teddy, you went absolutely huge this week. So yeah, congrats to you guys. And guys, if you do like the stream, do please give it a thumbs up. And Benny G, just for you, I'll go on the screen here. 1354 versus 1311. You got me this week, mate. You got me this week. But no, congrats on the dub. let's go through all of the games. I will admit that I wasn't able to really watch all of these games in full. It was a pretty busy, long weekend, so I've just kind of been catching up on highlights and looking at minutes and things, so won't be able to go super in-depth, but you guys in the chat can also help me out in case I miss anything. And yeah, we'll try to speed through things a bit quicker. I'll try to wrap up everything in about an hour. I don't need to be going on for too long, and you can all go and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evenings. But yeah, going all the way back to Thursday, Broncos Bulldogs. I don't think anyone was expecting that result. Broncos putting on 42 points against the best defensive team in the comp, 34 of those all being in the first half. It was a ridiculous blitzing, and I think most people just didn't really know what to expect, or they didn't really know what they were seeing happening in front of them. Payne Haas was obviously huge in this one. He got a try assist, line break assist, but he played good minutes. And again, this is probably something maybe being harsh on myself, but as a content creator, probably should have been a bit more mindful of, was that I noticed it, but I didn't say it, which is again why I'm a little bit annoyed that I didn't mention it. But Payne Haas, like with the bench that the Broncos had, it was pretty light. Like, they had Corey Pakes and I think another smaller body on the bench. It just kind of it looked like it was going to be a game where Payne Haas was going to get bigger minutes just because of the bench makeup. And again, probably a lesson for future weeks. It is important to make note of the bench. I probably don't do it as much as I should, especially when it comes to forwards. But, Payne Haas in this one played 65 minutes. So if you knew that coming into the match, he was going to play the big minutes, you probably could have easily put a safe VC on him, if not a captaincy. And you would have expected at least 80-something points, just in pure work rate, because that's what he's been dishing out so far this year. But he did get those attacking stats and obviously lots of offloads and things. Like without that try assist, line break assist, you're still looking at 103 in base power, which is just unbelievable stuff. So there is a genuine strategy emerging of, captaining your front rowers. I put a tweet out kind of joking about it, but it is definitely a valid strategy this season. And especially with the flex, your worst score is going to drop out. So you can generally bank on safer points throughout the rest of your squad. And so, you can also then bank on a safe captain and just kind of set yourself up for a good week. So he was like him and Payne Haas, him and Terrell May, I think we're both in like sub 10% captaincy and VC. So definitely a good strategy moving forward. The difficulty though is that week to week, it's always hard to kind of firm up what is the strategy, because last week people were, I did captain Terrell May last week and he got 102 points. But then I was like, okay, sweet. I've played around with captaining in the front rower. Let's try chase the ceiling. Cleary last week got 116 points without any try or try assist. So I thought, even if he just gets at least one or two, he's looking at 150. And realistically, front rowers, it takes a lot for them to get to 150. But I think this year we've just been blessed with Terrell May and Payne Haas, who are just performing like literally better than fullbacks in terms of how they're averaging. So definitely is worthwhile considering to captain your front rowers week in, week out. And Adam Reynolds was really good in this game as well with 125 points. I'm not sure how many people still own him. But, a couple of pod halfbacks did go big this week in Adam Reynolds and also in Jamal Fogarty for the Raiders. Xavier Willison, if he was a little bit cheaper, he would be a very interesting option because he's been starting on the edge the last couple of weeks, but he's 483k. He's not dual, and so he's a little bit of an awkward price, but maybe just one to keep an eye out for during the Origin period. Pat Carrigan, very good with 75 points. I think he also benefited from those minutes. Yeah, he played 71 minutes, so big minutes for both him and Payne Haas. Cobbo looked very good at fullback as well. So I know people who held on to him, you're probably much more confident in holding, given that he performed quite well at fullback and got 71 points in this one. I sold Shibasaki and Jesse Arthurs this week. They both actually managed to get close to their break-evens. I'm not really that upset about that, though, because there's no way I would have predicted the Bulldogs conceding 42 points in this one. Bit of a reality check for them. They have benefited from not having to travel much outside of Sydney. This was one of their first trips. Luckily, next week is Magic Round, not condolences, but unfortunately, won't be able to make it up to Magic Round this year. So everyone who heads up there, obviously, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's a great weekend. But yeah, obviously, every team is playing next week in Brisbane. So the Bulldogs, they may just be even staying in Brisbane and knuckling down because they'll want to bounce back from that pretty bad performance. On the Bulldog side of things, I think a couple of notes were that the left second rower is still doing good things for that in that position. So Kikau got 68 points. He originally was on 77 and actually had 2 try assists, but he got one taken off him. So downdated to 68. And Jacob Preston, he did score a try and got his 62 points. But again, not much points in terms of runs. So only the 7 points in runs. But I think you don't read too much into base stats for the Bulldogs players, just because of how much possession the Broncos had. Like that first half was pretty much flawless. Like in terms of completions, moving the ball around, even in wet conditions. The Bulldogs didn't help themselves, of course. Big talking point out of this game was the number of sin bins. Sitili Tupouniua was out for like a considerable amount of time. Josh Curran, I think, is out for 3 weeks. There was lots of sin bins and discretions in this game, so that just didn't help the Bulldogs at all. So a lot of time in this game only playing with 12 men. I don't think you read too much into the scores from the forwards. Preston and Kikau still may be good options to consider. With Karaz, I'm actually very encouraged by this game. Like, he scored 53 points. He was on about 3 at halftime. So he's gone out and scored 53 points in the second half. He was actually awarded the try assist in the end. So originally, he was only given a try contribution, but they did deem that his catching of the ball and offloading was enough for a try assist. So that bumped up his score materially. But even then, you take out the 12 points from that try assist because there's no line break with that associated. So no line break assist. You're looking at 41 points in base power. 39 of that is coming in the second half. So I'm still very encouraged with Karaz. Like, he still put in a really good shift in that second half. Overall, of course, it's a down game, 53 points. But yeah, happy enough with him as a hold in my team. And still, if you were looking at buying. Also, Stephen Crichton did hold on to the goal kicking. So I think for those who were still holding on to Jaden Campbell this week, Matt and Burton with only the 31 points, I think without goal kicking, it is hard to trust him in terms of buying him. Last week was probably a bit of an anomaly where he did score 65 points without any major attacking stats. He's not generally historically a high work rate player. He needs attacking stats and the goal kicking, I think, to be viable in SuperCoach. So the fact that you had, Stephen Crichton held on to it, maybe it dents Burton's appeal. And I think maybe instead, if you didn't get Munster this week, Munster's still an option, or you probably go to Dill Bags now that the Parramatta will be coming off a bye next week. Not much more I wanted to talk about in that game. Obviously, low scores from the guys who got the sin bins like Sitili Tupouniua and Josh Curran. And Reid Marnie, 16 points. He made 28 tackles, but ended up on 16 points because I think he missed about 7, and then he had a few errors in there as well. On to the Roosters and Dragons Anzac Day clash. So get your questions in, guys, as well as I go through all the relevant games. And please do give the stream a like as well if you do enjoy it. Lots of Teddy love in the chat. So John T 1396 Teddy captain. Oh God, I wish I went there. But Teddy was awesome in this one, scoring a double with 128. Sandon Smith 129 points with a sin bin as well. Sin bins are obviously a very big talking point of the round, but obviously it was very gutting to have Sandon Smith sitting on the bench there. But he was very good in this game, and 28 points in goal kicks. I think what this has made me think, like, hooker was already a pretty weak position. And I'm a Connor Watson owner, as you can see here. When I got to round 10, when the Roosters were on the bye, I was originally thinking of maybe selling Connor Watson. But now I'm just thinking, do I just leave Connor Watson in there, just accept that I'm going to get an auto emergency, and just have Sandon Smith be my backup all throughout the origin period? Because he's shown, obviously, like, big scores this season. Not, of course, as big as 129, but he scored a few, like, 60s. He scored a 70 in round 1. I just want to have a quick look at it here. What are we looking at? Sorry, my bad. Let me just get to the screen. It's not showing it to me. Great. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, 50 in round 1, 76. There is a low game of 20, but otherwise, apart from that, 57, 65, 47, and then last week was what was last week? I think last week was in the 30s. He's gotten more decent scores than poor scores, put it that way. And I've never really played Sandon Smith, but I think he is still worth considering, given that he's goal kicking and obviously went huge in this game. And Teddy, I think with Teddy, like, I didn't jump on him this week because I thought, look, he's got these next 2 games, then he's got the bye, and then he's got the Bulldogs. Look, Teddy was never a bad buy at all. Like, you could always just jump on him whenever you wanted. For my own team circumstances, I probably won't even get him next week, because I think now I'm at a point where you buy next week, then it's the bye, then it's the Dogs, who I think will turn it around. That is a relatively tough matchup. And then it gets to round 12. At that point in time, I'll probably make a move for Tedesco. Once we've got full certainty that, yes, he's not playing Origin and you know he's going to be available then for the Chooks during the Origin period. He will be must own, I think, if that's the case. And yeah, obviously those who jumped on him early or VC'd him, you profited a lot. And I think with VCs as well this season, you probably only need 115, 120 plus. It's probably enough of a score to loop. It's not like in years past where you're looking for 140s, 150s. 120 is okay to loop now because the flex means that your lowest score is going to drop out anyway. So you can generally bank pretty good VC scores at 120. 1592 from Daniel Johns. That's huge. I'm assuming you own Teddy and played Santa Smith as well, and Alex 1550 as well. Very, very big scores. Santa Smith, the hooker number one. Yeah, absolutely. So those two options I won't speak about much more. The wingers were very good as well. Mark Nwangandit Tawasi. He was actually on like 60 something points at halftime, I think, or he was in a very good score at halftime. I think he had a bit of a quieter second half, but he did score a try in this one with a couple of line breaks. So I think his work rate wasn't as much as I was expecting. He had 22 points in runs, ineffective offloads. So that's 24 plus 8 is 32. 34 in base power. I was expecting with him pushing in the 40s for base power, playing on the wing. Maybe it was a function of the game, so maybe we just need a few more games to see. But I was expecting a bit more work rate out of him. But look, 69 points is still a good score. Same with Dan Tupou, 66. Hugo Savala, in this one, he did score a try and he did take a couple of goal kicks while Santa Smith was in the sin bin. He's definitely consideration just as a downgrade in second row forward or even halfback. He is going to make a bit of money. So I've got Jay Schubert's projected numbers up in front of me. Just give me a second. So yeah, he's going to go up about 28k and have a -5 break even. If you are in that position of making some downgrades at second row forward, which I think some people will be next week, you've got Dylan Egan, Lockie Hubner, then you might just want to cash them in before they start losing too much money. Savala's probably the downgrade in second row forward as it currently stands. He's not going to be playing Origin, so he's going to be available during those bye weeks. He's got a dual status second row forward halfback, so that could become handy. Before this game, though, he was only punching out 20s. I don't expect 65 to be the norm from him, but he could just be an option that, you never play in your 17 except on those bye weeks, and he's a handy number, and the Roosters cover all the major and mini bye weeks, so he's probably the downgrade I'd be looking to if you are looking at selling a 2RF. On that topic, let's quickly talk about Dylan Egan. So Swift AU is asking, has Egan topped out? So yeah, I didn't play Dylan Egan in this one. I was just a bit concerned with Emre Gula back on the bench, how that was going to affect his minutes. And yet he played 48 minutes. So he was named to start in the starting lineup, but still only played the 48 minutes. He still had his normal role of starting on the edge, then moving to the middle. But I don't know what the exact full rotation was, but I feel like once he came off, I think Emre Gula came on, and then I think he just didn't really get back on the field for much time. So yeah, we're looking at the minutes here. Yeah, Dylan Egan, he played 48 minutes. Emre Gula had a pretty good stint coming back from his suspension. He played 43. And Luciano Leilua played 50. I don't know if he's an immediate sell, so just quickly looking at him, he had a break even of -25. So of course he's still going to go up in money. Jay Schubert has him projected for a break even coming into next week of 59 and making another 44k. So he'll be probably at peak if that is his role going forward and playing 48 minutes. I'm happy to wait one more week just to get confirmation of that. Even if he punches out another 30 and has a break even of 59, he'll only go down maybe 10, 15k. It's not disastrous. He still in total would have netted 200k. But yeah, I think he's still worth holding on for a week. Stefanos is saying he got injured. Can you just confirm, Stefanos? Maybe I may have potentially missed it if he did pick up a bit of a knock in this one, or if it was just minutes rotation. If it was an injury, then I definitely would give it a week just to see if that is the normal rotation moving forward. If he's not the player you're referring to as he picked up a bit of an injury, then yeah, I think either next week or the week after, I'll probably will maybe look to make a downgrade to him. So yeah, I think that's all I had to say on Egan and on Clint Gutherson. So Clint Gutherson, 44 points, had a couple of line break assists and a bit of a spurt at one point during the game. But yeah, very poor work rate, 0 in net tackles, only 4 points in tackle busts and 14 points in runs. Not enough, I think, from Gutherson. And I think it's now at a point where, the start of the season probably was maybe a bit of a flash in the pan. But we're looking now at, since round 4, he's had no scores over 60. except for that one against Parramatta, where he was extremely motivated, of course, in that game. The next few rounds, though, aren't difficult in terms of the West Tigers and then Warriors and Broncos. Oh, to be fair, Warriors I'm a bit more wary of in terms of targeting as a matchup. Same with the Broncos at away. And then West Tigers, that's also at Suncorp. We saw West Tigers were pretty decent today as well, only conceding 18 points. I think I will probably sell Gutherson next week. It's just the fact that he's going to continue to leak cash. So Gutherson has got a projected break-even of 129 and going down about 85k. So he's still going to be in the 700s. But I think with people who've seen what's happened with Ponga, you can see that just continued poor scores, they really start plummeting in cash. And I don't want to be holding on to a player who, in such a key position, is just leaking cash and not scoring well. I'll get to my team a bit later, but I might not even trade Teddy, but I will maybe trade in someone else via the flex next week. And then look to get Teddy maybe after his bye in round 11 or round 12. But I think Gutherson will probably be a sell for me. He's going to have another high break even, and I don't have too much confidence in him, I think, now punching out continually good scores. I do feel bad as well. People who are asking me early in the week, sell Gutherson to Teddy, sell to Drinkwater, is it sideways? And I'm thinking, yeah, Anzac Day clash, day game. Gutherson can easily punch out a 70, 80 plus. We saw the Roosters just last week concede so many points to Dylan Edwards, so I thought for fullbacks not a bad matchup, but it just wasn't his day, nor the Dragons as well. Okay, so Steven's saying that Dylan Egan was holding his hand/wrist as he went off. Okay, so I must have missed that one. As I say, guys, I wasn't able to watch any game in full this weekend. It was just very busy, so we'll see able to see bits and pieces, and then just kind of the KO minis, basically. Steven's saying, can anyone explain how Billy Smith didn't get the assist? Yeah, look, I'm probably not the best person to comment on these kind of things, but yeah, for Billy Smith, only 35 points. I didn't play him also in the end, which probably turned out to be a right decision, but yeah, I did play Naf White. It's very frustrating to pick when to play him. I missed out on his 76, and then I played him for his 38 points, and he played 49 minutes, which is generally around what he gets, but I think the Roosters just didn't really need him so much because the game was pretty comfortable for them throughout most of this one. Even Angus Crichton had a pretty down game, only the 47 points. And yeah, same with Connor Watson. He played the full 80 minutes, but just no attacking stats, and he just didn't need to do much as much in defense. Roosters had most of the attacking ball in this particular game. Val Holmes still very good though with 67. But yeah, that's all I wanted to mention on this one. I think Jacob Little may have also picked up a knock of some kind, if I'm not mistaken. He played 35 minutes, but just want to watch because anytime one of him or Damien Cook is out, then the alternative option does become an option at hooker. When they're both playing, it's not feasible, but yeah, it's not just something to keep an eye out, but listen to NRL Physio's Magic Sponge podcast to get all that injury wrap up. So next game, just wanted to quickly touch on, is the Warriors versus the Knights. I think this is, just on that Billy Smith question around if, so I actually don't remember the play in question, but I remember reading a few messages on WhatsApp. People were saying Sua Wong got the try assist, but they thought Billy Smith was a dead cert to get it. So the fact that he hasn't got it post updates, look, I can't really help you. I need to go back and rewatch it. Sorry, but I'm not the right person to ask about the awarding of these assists and whatnot. I'm just look, if I can explain it, say the Karaz one, but that one I watched that play so I could explain it. The Billy Smith one, I just missed that one, so I'm not able to comment, unfortunately, Stephen. Stephen's actually giving a bit of a description in the chat as well, which is useful. But yeah, I think Sua Wong got all those points. Alrighty, on Warriors and Knights, another good game from the Warriors. Knights, again, not that great in attack as well, only putting up the 12 points. Aaron Clark, just been on an absolute tear, so 108 points in this game. And that's to back up some other really big scores before this. So we're looking at previous scores. Ever since Dylan Walker's left, I think 55, 65, 71, and 55, and now 108. And I think he was on 50 points at halftime, all in work rate. So he had an absolute stellar game. He's just awkwardly priced. He's 523k. He is dual, but he's projected to go up 53k. So he's going to be 580k. I don't know if people are going to be looking to him in second row or front row just at that price. But if you are moving on a peaked cash cow in an Egan or a Hubner, and you don't have the money to stretch up to your guns like an Eli Katoa, maybe Hudson Young if you're considering, someone like an Aaron Clark who's probably going to be good during the origin period. He's not going to be origin affected. I actually don't mind jumping on him because his minutes have been really good in the last few weeks. And I think that's the thing we're seeing is that he's just gotten a very good role in that team. So yeah, since Dylan Walker's left, his minutes have been 50, 41, 61. So 61 from last week is obviously quite big. And then this week he played 64 minutes. So this has been his most minutes all season long. And really good stats in this game. So did get a try assist, but let's look at this. 34 plus 8, that's 42 plus 14 points in offloads is 56 plus 24 in runs. We're looking at, what's that? 80 points in base power. Yep. Yes, please. I'll take that. His dual status as well, which I do like. So for my own team makeup, I'm not sure if I'll be jumping to him unless I went Gutherson to him via flex, and then banked that money and then made that money available to cash in one of my second row forwards to a fullback and then switch Clark up at that point in time. That's potentially a strategy that I might do. What I don't mind about that also is because he's dual, it means you could sell one of your front rowers for a fullback come round 12. Like Corey Horsburgh, if he's destined for Origin, you might think of selling at that time. And you can go Horsburgh out for a fullback, switch Aaron Clark to your front row at that point in time. If you wanted to get in Clark right now and not jump on a fullback, if you're in that situation where you are selling like a Gutherson, for example, and your fullback. Adam Pompey as well, really big in this game with 109. And Wade Egan did very well in this one, scoring a try off that Luke Metcalf intercept. So he bumped up his score all the way up to 86. Not one I'll be considering in my own team right now, just when I've got Connor Watson and Sanders Smith. I still do feel like whatever you have a hooker, I think you just run with that and don't make too many trades there, because I think trying to chase all of these big scores and whatnot, all the high averaging hookers, when you've got the likes of Mamazelis, I think scored okay this week. Sanders Smith obviously was huge. I think Starling was decent as well. All these guys that you may have jumped on who were cash cows, they're still doing just fine. So I don't think there's any rush to have to upgrade in hooker. I definitely should be wanting to spend more money in other positions. Other options from the Warriors. The Warriors don't cover round 12, I want to say. Let me just have a quick check of that. So they... sorry. It's not quite loading for me, the full site. Let me just have a look. They do play round 12 actually versus the Raiders and at home. So you can consider the Warriors from a buy coverage perspective. They don't play round 15, which is the second major buy round, but they do play the mini buy weeks. So they play round 13, they play round 16, and they do play round 19. So they're going to be useful in those particular weeks as well. So I don't mind even jumping on those guys like an Aaron Clark, who's obviously got a much better role since Dylan Walker's moved on. Or if you want to go like a Wade Egan, a hooker, just to get that coverage during Origin, if that makeup suits your team. Halasima was okay as well, 53 points. He did actually get named to start in this one, but he only played 39 minutes, so he still did have a shorter stint. But 53 points in that very short time obviously is a very, very good outing. So shows that he's got a good PPM, but he's gone up in price this week because he had a break even of 1 coming into this round. Jay Schubert's got him projected to go up 31k. So he's going to be in the 400s. It feels a little bit awkward now, I think, to jump on someone like a Halasima. Metcalf has actually also been a decent hold for people at 5'8". Like he scored 47, but he was very close to other attacking stats if other things fell for him. So he's actually been a fine hold. And people who are selling Jaden Campbell next week, honestly, there's no problem going back to Metcalf. Like he was very attacking stat reliant, but it's a good Warriors outfit. He's the goal kicker, and he's got pretty decent buy coverage as well. So if you've still got Metcalf, I would definitely be holding. And Chanel Harris-Tavita as well, I think he's just been going under the radar, like 59 points, pretty much what he's been averaging all season long, like season average of 57. He's made good coin for people who jumped on him. So congrats to anyone who's on Harris-Tavita. Again, there's nothing wrong with punting on one of those two in 5'8". Such a weak position overall. Excuse me. For the Knights, so Kai Pispor was their top scorer with 64 points. Just continues actually to do quite well. He's had really good base power stats throughout the season so far when he's been playing 80 minutes. So I'm just going to have a quick look to last week. Yeah, so in round 6 and round 7, he had base stats of 55 and 51. And in this particular game, I'm pretty sure he had similar. So 36 plus 4, 40. It's 24 plus... I can't do the math that quickly. He's definitely gone base over 50. I can tell you that much in this game. So, if anything, his base is actually north of 60 in this game. So, Kai Pispol is a very solid second rower that you can consider as well, similar to like an Aaron Clark. He's going to be about the similar price. And the Knights do have very good buy coverage as well, as we discussed a lot on the Tuesday stream. So I'm definitely looking at a lot of Knights players still, even despite them not scoring that many points. Like a Dylan Lucas, for example, scored 63 points. I was very keen on him. One pleasing thing was that he played 76 minutes. So there was maybe some concern that he was going to play reduced minutes just coming back from his hamstring injury, but straight back into it, 76 minutes and 63 points. Honestly, I can see myself trading for Dylan Lucas next week. Just via Clint Gutherson, get Lucas in flex, let him sit there for a few weeks, and then the plan was that when I get to round 12 or 11, sell one of those second row forwards or front rowers, like maybe a Hubner and Dylan Egan, switch Lucas up to second row, and then get in Tedesco that way. That's currently my thoughts, because I've got Pappy and Drinkwater, who we'll talk about in a bit, but I think those two I'm very happy with it for the time being. And I think Tedesco is going to be the third one that I want. So it's just a question of how do I get to that point. If I don't get, I could just try get him in this week, or I just maybe force in someone else later. My hesitation with getting in Tedesco next week is that I'm going to have so many Roosters players on the bye in round 10. And it's going to, it's going to leave me short in that week. Just comment saying, I saw Metcalf didn't kick one of the goals, unless I'm mistaken. So he didn't kick one of the goals. Dane Tuapiki did take one kick, but Metcalf did take the other couple of kicks as well. So I don't know what the particular reason was for him not doing that kick, but no, I think he's got the goal kicking responsibilities. Other relevant Knights players, so Greg Marzu, 49 points. Look, I'll take 49 points from Marzu because that's all coming in base power. So that shows his floor is about 50 points. And he was a whisker away from scoring a try as well. He got a disallowed try from moving into touch. That was very, very close. If he was given that try, we're looking at an extra 30 points, call it. And then you're looking at a score of 79 and you're thinking, sweet, Marzu's a gun. It just didn't quite happen in this game, given that try got disallowed. But I'll happily take 49 points from Marzu, and I'm happy enough with a trade-in. Even Fletcher Sharp, for example, like he didn't get any major attacking stats in this one, but he still pumped out like 48 points. Like 48 points in base power for him is very, very good. So there's still definitely options. My ranking is still probably going to be Marzu, Lucas, then Fletcher Sharp, and then a Bradman Best. But I can easily see myself owning a lot of these guys around the Origin period, just because they play all the weeks up until I think round 18. So they've just got incredible buy coverage, and they've also got a good draw of games during that period. And the reason why I'm happy to invest in these guys, despite the Knights not scoring well themselves, is that all of these guys have got good underlying base stats. So they're always going to perform well, even if their team's not scoring that many points. And look, they will click at some point and start scoring points. But as I said, Marzu was very close to scoring a try. You could have seen very, in a different world, Marzu with 80 points, Dylan Lucas with 63, Fletcher Sharp 48, and you're thinking, well, they only scored 12 points, but actually, it could be still very good Supercoach scores. On Ponga, 44 points, so the same as Gutherson, so I now feel what KP owners are feeling. If you own both KP and Gutherson, I don't know how you're still on Supercoach and you haven't deleted the app, but he's going to lose so much money. So Jay Schubert has got Ponga projected to lose 46k with a break-even of 75. Honestly, if you still haven't sold Ponga, I still think you don't sell, because you're looking at the Rabbitohs in Magic Round, the Titans at home, and then the Parramatta Eels at home. I just think you just have to take those three games. And whatever price he is by round 12, you just have a plan to sell him in round 12, because I suspect he's playing Origin. Just have a plan to sell him in round 12 to get like a Tedesco, and it is what it is. If you don't already own Tedesco. If you already own Tedesco and you've got Ponga, then I think you definitely keep, because yes, Drinkwater scored well this week, but Drinkwater's got some slightly trickier matchups. I just think with Ponga's price and the next three games, I don't know, man. I feel like yes, the next 3 weeks he could score poorly, and you've held on to him and you're annoyed. But what happens if you sell him at rock bottom and then he goes 80, 110, 120, which is very capable of doing? You're just going to be kicking yourself. That's my take on it. I don't know. But I'm not a KP owner, so I don't have to make that decision, thankfully. But yeah, KP owners, let me know in the chat what your plan is with him at the moment. But feels very hard to sell him. And finally, on Thomas Cant, so he scored 31 points. He played 27 minutes. So I think if that's his role, where he's playing 27 minutes, Jay Schubert's got him projected next week for a break-even of 46. So again, he's not an urgent sell, but he's someone that you can cash in. You can cash him to like a Hugo Savala. That could be your bank to get a Tedesco next week. Again, I don't hate a couple of trades if that's what they look like. Storm and Rabbitohs. So in the end, win for the Storm, but not overly convincing. It probably wasn't the route that I think people were expecting. Overall, the Storm still aren't quite in like full gear. They're kind of just going through games, patches where they concede tries and things. And I don't think Bellamy is going to be very happy with that. But at least they got the win in this one. Biggest takeaway probably was that Pappy still kept the goal kicking. Thank God. Hopefully he holds on to it because Nick Meaney was wearing some pretty unorthodox looking headgear. So I'm hoping that he's just slowly is transitioning back to footy and Pappy just keeps the goal kicking. So that was very pleasing to see. And even though Pappy only scored 66 points, I think he was very, very close to a much bigger score in this game because Grant Anderson I think he dropped the ball over the try line or near the try line that Pappy would have got a try assist, line break assist for. He was, again, constantly around the ball. I think I'm seeing all the good signs still from Pappenhausen that he's still I'm very happy to hold. And the fact that he's kept the goal kicking, I think it's tough for people who, like, if you don't want to jump on Tedesco yet and you're selling Gutherson, Pappy or Drinky, yeah, they're probably the two that I'd want. I think my top three fullbacks I'd want to have right now is going to be Drinkwater, Pappy, and Tedesco. Those three would be the ones that I'd be ranking them. Jerome Hughes was good in this game as well, 76 points. So he helped me out a bit in this one, punching out a pretty decent score. And 73 points from Eli Katoa. It was good to see that Hughes set up Eli Katoa. And Katoa, my God, I don't know what Nick Meaney's got against Katoa, but he passed the ball right past him, straight to Wishart. And I thought, just give him the ball, Nick. And, Katoa's going to get an extra 17 points for all us owners, but clearly doesn't own Eli Katoa and SuperCoach, eh? So, it is what it is. But look, 73 points from Katoa with the try. I'm happy to get a good score from him. Tyler's asking, is Gutherson a must-sell, own Teddy and Drinky? If you own Teddy and Drinky already, no, he's not a must-sell, but given the way that Pappy was performing in this game and he kept the goal kicking, I'd be happy to get Pappy. So, no rhyme intended. Paperson's expected to go up 31k with 108 break-even, but it's a game at Suncorp, which I think if you listen to the 167 podcast, they do seem to always talk about that they seem to like playing at Suncorp. Then you've got the Tigers at home. Sharks away is a bit tougher, but then he does miss round 12. But again, I think it's important to also look at those mini bye weeks, which are going to be tricky weeks. And Melbourne play the Titans in round 13. It feels like a week where it'd be scary not to own Pappenhausen when so many players are going to be, missing out. You really want to make sure you're targeting the right guys who can hurt you. If Pappy's still goal kicking at that point, he would be captain material in that week. So I think Pappy's still worth an upgrade on Gutherson. And I feel more confident in saying that because we saw Pappy goal kicking this week. Munster was solid enough, 66 points. Munster was 66 points, but it had no major attacking stats. So aside from one line break, 30 points in tackles, 12 points in tackle bust, 18 points in runs. It was just a very Cam Munster performance. 66 points in pretty much base power minus the line break. So I'm happy enough with the Munster as an owner. And I still think if you're selling Campbell next week, if you don't own Munster, it's tough that he's going to go into Origin. But I think the way that the Storm are going, it does feel like they're going to maybe have their Origin players back up more. This is just a hunch, but I feel like they're still not quite in, they're probably the premiership favourites, but they're not looking like it fully at the moment. So I think the Origin players might want to back up. What I might do as well is I might dig into either next week or the week after the number of rest days that players have from Origin, because Cam Munster said actually in the 167 podcast, not last week, but the week before, he confirmed what I think has been a theory, is that players actually, well, he prefers to play Origin. Sorry, he prefers to back up sooner after Origin. So if they play Origin on Wednesday, he says he'd actually rather play Friday, Saturday, because he said by the time you get to Sunday, actually you're feeling quite fatigued and quite sore. So I'll have a look into that for all teams, because if Storm have got short turnarounds after Origin, then maybe there is a chance that he actually does back up a bit more, and therefore he's still worth a trade in. So not many other thoughts, I think, on other Storm players. Like Xavier Coates was good with 65 points, scored another try in this one. Sean Bloor was good as well with 70, but I think your main targets being your Hughes, Katoa, Munster, Pappy, they all went pretty well in this particular game. And yeah, Kane Bradley didn't end up playing in this one. He dropped out for Suafalongo, who was actually very good in this one as well. For the Rabbitohs, Jack Whiten was really good for them with 111, scored a double, just had great runs all game. And Kolomatangi was good with that little flick pass try assist as well for 70 points. But the Rabbitohs just don't seem overly relevant to me. Like with Latrell, just, he's going to miss a week. I think it's confirmed for that the offense that he was sin bin for. And he scored 11 points. So he's going to plummet in cash. And so I think people aren't going to really be looking at Latrell as a trade. He's going to lose 108k and 164 break even. And then he's going to head into Origin. Hopefully it just means though that when Latrell is eventually available, he's rock bottom. So a lot of bottoming out fullbacks with Ponga. Gutherson's started to draw these two, and then Latrell as well. Mamazel's 49 points was solid. Ewan Aitken, he's just someone I wanted to call out because every time he plays in the back row and gets good minutes, he always pumps out really good scores. So I think he played 80 minutes in this game, which he generally does when he plays edge. Yeah, played edge for 80 minutes and scored 62 points, which is thereabouts what he's done in previous seasons. But yeah, the Rabbitohs have got a fairly tough run of games. Well, they played Bulldogs in Melbourne the last two. They play the Knights in Magic Round, which isn't... Like, the Knights are not scoring that many points, but they're also not leaking that many points either. Then they've got the Broncos. Then they've got the Tigers. Then they miss round 12. I think that draw plus the missing of round 12, the Rabbitoh players don't really seem that relevant for the time being. So there's probably not much more what we really wanted to chat on there. Campbell Graham also only the 38 points. So... we'll move on to the Cowboys-Titans. I'm trying to keep the stream to about an hour, guys, as well. So might just fly through the next 4 games in a bit more detail. In a bit less detail. For the Cowboys, obviously big talking points out of this one, in that they scored how many points were there on at halftime? I want to say they're on not many, but they pumped out all of these points really in the second half. So yeah, they scored only 2 tries in the first half, and then all the rest came in the second half. So big win in the end, and yeah, apologies Titans fans, your premiership hopes are now officially over, given that you conceded 50. Tom Dearden was absolutely huge this week with 141. I kind of poo-pooed him as a bit of an option, I think, in the stream on Tuesday. I just looked at some of his earlier scores and thought just a lot of low ones, and he's generally kind of average around 55 to 60. I think I did call out that he can spike those occasional big games. I think this is probably going to be his highest score of the season with 141. He was all across the field, 4 try assists, 3 try contributions, 5 line break assists. I don't know when he's going to be pumping out another big score like that this year. And yeah, as Mike is asking in the chat, I don't know if I've ever seen 500 plus point games, or 530 plus scores. A lot of big scores, Supercoach wise, in this one. I think it's because most of the tries did come from line breaks and line break assists, not so much from kicks, where generally the try is the same, but you're not getting line break assists because you're getting it from a kick, and that didn't happen in this game. Rob Derby, huge, 135 points, scoring a hat-trick. So he's going to go up massively in price. So he had a break even of 28. I think Jay Schubert's got him projected to go up. Let's have a look at it here. 91k with a negative 49 break even. Look, we've spoken about the Cowboys draw. They don't cover round 12, but they do have a very good long-term draw where they're not playing that many games outside of Queensland. And apart from round 12, they'll play every other game in the bye period. So if you wanted to jump on Rob Derby just to make a little bit of coin, or just to be a downgrade, I don't hate it now that he's got that really big score in his rolling average. And if you're looking at selling maybe a peaked cash cow center like a Jenkins, for example, I don't overly hate that. Like his previous scores don't leave much to be desired, like 34, 48, 32 and 26, and you've probably missed the big one. But look, he's got that score in his rolling average. He could make a bit of coin. Maybe he's a potential downgrade option, but he will be kind of mid to high 300. So it feels a little bit awkward. Scott Drinkwater, of course, big in this one, 132 points. So I think the question that a lot of people have is Drinky still a trade-in? Drinky break-even. So yeah, his break-even coming into this week was 68. Jay Schubert has projected him to have a break-even of 36, going up 42k. So he'll be about 750k with a 42 break-even. Playing at Magic Round, who are the Cowboys versing? The Warriors. And then they go Penrith at home. Then they go Manly at home. Then they have the bye. But then they have West Tigers, Melbourne. Melbourne away, which is going to be tough. 15 is Dolphins, 16 Roosters, 17 again is the Titans. Then it's Melbourne and Bulldogs in 18 and 19. Luckily, they're playing a lot of those top teams during the Origin period, where they're going to have less of their stars available. So even though some of those matchups do look a bit tough, I'm still very confident in Drinkwater as a trade-in. I feel it does feel difficult because I think this was the week to bring him in just because of the Titans matchup. But he's still a perfectly good trade-in. As you saw, he's got that big ceiling on him. With the goal kicking, that bumped up his score by 24 points. And very involved. A couple of try assists. I think he's gotten 4 line break assists there. Had a line break of his own. So Scotty Drinkwater is a good trade-in. If you're selling a Gutherson, I'm happy for people to go Gutherson to Drinkwater. Probably should have advised people to do that this week, but that's probably partly a hindsight take as well. Only 12 points at halftime for the Cowboys. Nanai was very good with a double, 131 points. Just keep an eye on him as well. Maybe if he makes the Queensland side. If he does, then probably not an option for Supercoach. But if he doesn't, then you could always consider him as a bit of a point of difference. Very happy with Purdue's 64. For the Titans, Beau Fermor was the big star performer in this one. Now, his try was probably very dubious where it should have been called back for a forward pass. But anyway, play on. 132 points, got a try and try assist. He's going to have a big negative break-even, so projected negative break-even of negative 12, going up 52k. My concern, though, with him, he's still a worthwhile consideration because he has second or forward centre status, and people were looking at him already as a bit of a pod option. He just goes into the Bulldogs next week. I think the Bulldogs are going to bounce back. Then he's got the Knights, Canberra, and then I think he's going to play Origin. Just the way that he's been performing, I think he will get selected for Origin. So then you're gonna get round 13 versus Melbourne, 14 versus the Broncos. 2 tough games. Then he'll miss round 15. Then he has to back up round 16. Look, I don't hate it because he's got dual status and you can flip him around. And even if he does play Origin, it's probably a bench role. He's probably not playing big minutes, and he most likely will back up. So again, I don't hate him as a trade-in option. If you're looking, he's probably at a good price where he's not too far out of reach for those who are selling a Hubner or a Dylan Egan. So I don't hate him as a trade-in for that perspective, and also because he's got that dual status, which I love as well. He does look one of the Titans' best Supercoach options, him and Tino. Dave Fafita, I think, came off the bench again in this game, so he didn't play the full 80 minutes. So Fafita only played, he got 37 points, and he played 59 minutes, but just wasn't that effective in this game. So Fafita, I feel like I'm not going to be looking at as a trade-in anytime soon. Fermor, at least he's guaranteed 80 minutes on an edge. Tino's work rate was also a little bit down, 62 points, and that 69 points includes a try assist, line break assist. So looking at 49 base power in 62 minutes, but a lot of that was probably just due to the second half and the Cowboys putting on all of those points. Macapaka is Dearden an option to trade in for an injured Jaden Campbell? He definitely is, as with that long-term draw that we spoke about. He's probably not playing Origin because Munster's fit this year. Look, I don't hate it. And he's got that 141 in his rolling average. So Tom Dearden, for example, is going to have a projected break-even of 9 and going up 52k. So he'll be priced at he'll be priced about 590k. So a little bit expensive, but if you're selling Campbell, you've got the money to get there. I personally still do prefer Munster or Dill Brown, I think, over Dearden. With Burton not goal kicking, Dearden could potentially log freep him. Log freep? Did I just say that? Frog leap him over Burton in the 5-8 rankings. All right, on Panthers Seagulls, somehow I can't go through these games any faster, but convincing win from Manly in this one. Penrith just, again, still looking a little bit clunky in attack. Like, Tungo was their best performer with 95, but no one else of note really scored over 60. Cleary, no major attacking stats, so only the 54 points in this one. We'll talk a bit more about captains for next week on the Tuesday stream. But of course, we talk about it at the beginning of the stream as well, about the theory of captaining front rowers and vice captaining your high upside guys. So vice captain a fullback early in the week, go safe with the captain later in the round. That seems to be the strategy that I think a lot of people are going to move to. I'm kind of leaning a bit towards that myself as well, because these kind of scores of 54, they're just a bit meh, Cleary was the most captain player, I think, in the top ranked players. Only 54. If you went Drinkwater, you've gained an extra kind of 80 points there. If you went Haas or Terrell May, you've gained like 80 points with Haas, probably about 60 points with Terrell May. Like, in 1 week, that's not huge, but if that keeps happening every 2 to 3 weeks, that's how those will keep staying ahead, because they just keep banking safe captain points. Of course, you need to occasionally spike those big captain scores, but I think if you're someone who's in a good rank position, you can keep playing it safe. Just keep captaining your solid front rower. In saying that, though, I'm sure I'll be captaining Cleary again at some point in the coming weeks as well. He's just too good of an option to not. But disappointing overall for the Penrith Panthers. Lindsay Smith, 49. Still played decent minutes coming off the bench. But no real big scores from them. Tom Jenkins, only the 30 points. Again, no attacking stats here. So he had a break even coming into this round. I think it was 48. It's just loading up on screen. So break even of 48. And Jay Schubert's got him now projected with that score of 30. Going down 20k and a break even of 64. I think Jenkins is probably a sell. He's gonna in the end net us like 190k, which is great. He's made us a lot of money. But I think he's probably going to be someone that you can look to move on. It's going to be tough to just know who to move on to. Like, there's not a lot of cheapy center wings sticking their hand up. We didn't actually speak about him earlier. I'll quickly mention him. Sione Finau is probably the one, but he scored 33 points with a try. So he's also, he's 279k, but he's not someone who's going to be going up in value, and he will eventually nuff out, because once Tuipulotu is back in, Finau is going to drop out. So the downgrade options at center wing don't seem fantastic. If you've got any good options, then let me know in the chat. Did I say firm or origin? Surely not. I did say that. Yeah, I think he just looks like a guy that Billy Smith would love. He's very versatile. He can play 80 minutes. He can play edge. He can play center. So I think that versatility and being able to play 80 minutes is very highly valued by the origin coaches. So I think Fermor is a contender. Just on center downgrades, there just doesn't seem to be that many. Jake Simpkin from Manly wanted to quickly call out. Someone earlier in the chat was also mentioning him as well, because he played, I think, decent minutes in this game. So I just want to quickly bring it up 1 second. But he scored 79 points, which is obviously a very, very good outing. I don't know how long-term it's going to be, though, if his minutes were up. Because he played 58 minutes, but Jake Trbojevic was out this game with a HIA. So that is the reason why Jazz Tavanga played at lock. I do think that once Jobo's back in, Jazz Tavanga and Simpkin will share that hooker role. So even though he's scored well this week and played 58 minutes, I don't see that as his kind of role moving forward. So I'm not sure if I'd be jumping on Jake Simpkin as a bit of a cheaper option at hooker. If you look at previous weeks, to be fair, previous weeks' minutes are actually 65 and 55 in the last 2 weeks, but he did only score 29 and 39 in those 2 weeks. So even though the minutes were good, he wasn't necessarily, putting out good stats. Oh, sorry, I think I may have misspoke, because Tyler says Billy Smith, the Queensland coach. I meant Billy Slater. Billy Slater, the Queensland coach. Sorry, not the Sydney Roosters left centre. My bad, slip of the tongue. It's been a busy long weekend, so apologies if I'm not all there tonight. Olukwatu and Garrick were very big in this one. It was very encouraging to see that the right side was doing very well. Obviously, Turbo back in this one. He did get a try assist in this one for I think it was Tommy Talau, but still didn't look 100%. So look, Turbo's going to leak a bunch of cash because his break even was like 172. He's going to go down 100k and have 146 break even. Manly are in the bye next week anyway. So in terms of Manly players, like Garrick, we've spoken a lot about him. I think he's going to be a must-own centre wing during the Origin period. But of course, you don't rush to get him next week now that he's on the bye. Similar thing with Olukwatu. Olukwatu is also an Origin risk as well. But yeah, very good performances from them. And good win from Manly overall in this one. On today's games, Raiders and Dolphins. On Jenkins, actually, people are asking, my thing with Jenkins is that he plays round 12 against the Knights. Could he start at fullback? Good cover for that round. So I'm going to use this as a bigger talking point. One thing I'm trying to get away from with the whole bye weeks is that you want to target your gun players for those rounds for sure. For the guys who maybe are more they're not guns, they're more plotters. Like Jenkins, sure, you could play fullback that week. To be fair, he scored 90 plus the week he played fullback earlier in the season, but what he's shown us is that he's more of a guy who's going to score between 30 to 50. Carrying those plotter guys just because they play round 12, if he's someone that you can upgrade to like a Herbie Farnworth who scored 67 and is a more genuine gun, definitely you make that upgrade. And I think you don't worry about what Jenkins scores in that week. Even if he scores fine, like long term, you want to upgrade him eventually because he could start leaking cash as well. I don't really want to just fixate on round 12 as the only reason I hold on to him. Like because of his, like he doesn't get a lot of good ball playing outside of Casey McLean anyway. And Penrith aren't still quite clicking in attack. I think I'm just going to cull Jenkins sooner rather than later and not worry about him playing round 12. Most likely anyway, the player that I'll want to upgrade him to probably plays round 12 anyway. So I'm not losing a number for round 12. I'm not gaining one either, but I'm probably gaining more points in that particular week. If I assume everything goes to plan and that player scores better than Jenkins. Good win in the end for the Raiders here. A bit of a shaky start with the Dolphins starting well in this one. Isaiah Katoa looked again very good, but ended up on 55. Herbie Farnworth scored that early try in the game as well for 67. Bit of a quieter second half for him. And Tom Gilbert, 66 points. So that's actually a pretty good outing. Unfortunately, guys, this was the game that I wasn't able to watch a lot of, so I've only been able to watch some of the highlights. So probably can't make too many more observations as opposed to anything but minutes, scores, and some of their stats. So like Tarpany played 56 minutes in this one, but and scored 75 points, which is really, really good. Had a try assist in there with a line break assist. So I don't know who he gave that for, but 55 points otherwise in base power is good. Tarpany is still definitely a consideration as well in your front row. Just eyeing him off maybe as a trade-in closer to round 12. At the moment with Terrell May and Payne Haas and Corey Horsburgh in my front row, I just don't feel like I need to make any trades there. On Horsburgh, he was excellent today. 72 points, all in base power, plus 1 forced dropout. Pleasingly, the minutes were up in this one. Played 55 minutes. I don't know if there was any kind of in-game injury, but his first stint was about 30 minutes, and I think he was on 48 points after 30 minutes. So his output in the first half was really strong. So yeah, very happy that I held and played on to Horsburgh this week. With him, I'm probably just going to hold on to him, I think, until Origin. If he gets called up for Origin, then we can evaluate selling. But just right now, he's just not my biggest problem. Same with Matty Nicholson. So again, that's 2 weeks in a row now that Matty Nicholson has played 80 minutes with Hosking on the bench. So Hosking did score a try actually in this one and played 45 minutes. But I think it was Morgan Smithies who was impacted mainly with Hosking because Smithies only played 35. Nicholson played 80. The fact that he's played 80 minutes back-to-back, I'm very pleased with that. So Nicholson for now will stay. The Raiders continue their trend of generally it's the back rowers and the forward scoring tries. Although I say that, KO Weeks, Tamale, Fogarty, and Hosking were the try scorers in this one. But yeah, so Nicholson, 68 points, will happily take. Tamale was very good in this one as well with 76 points. Hamish is saying, surely when To'o comes back, Casey gets dropped and Jenkins shifts to center. Yeah, that could potentially happen as well. Sorry, just give me a second, guys. Sorry, 1 sec. Yep, cool. So I think with Raiders players, you kind of, the ones who perform well, you just hold on to them, like a Tamale, Tarpany, Horsburgh, Matty Nicholson. Hudson Young was, again, look, no major attacking stats, but still 67 points in base power. It's a very encouraging hit out from Hudson Young, he's probably bound for Origin and he's very expensive. So like not many people are going to be buying new, but is probably someone just to think of as a run home second row forward, just the way that he's been going this season. He looks like he's turned the corner. Like he's always been good Supercoach wise. It's not like this is the first year he's been good, but it's probably the first year that I've probably properly noticed him and thought, you know what, I might need to actually get. I've never owned Hudson Young in Supercoach, so probably need to change that sometime soon, maybe post Origin. Tom Starling was also good. Just quickly checking his minutes. 62 minutes. That's what you want to see for a Tom Starling owner. So I think that's also encouraging. He's now played 2 weeks in a row of bigger minutes after having a spell of about 50 minutes. So that's very good for Starling owners. I think got some attacking stats in this one. I think you hold Starling for sure as well. A hooker covers round 12. There's no need, I think, now to be moving him on. And Hosking did well off the bench with a try, but off the bench, you're probably not looking to trade him in. With the Dolphins, realistically, the most relevant people there are Herbie Farnworth, who scored 67. Isaiah Katoa is probably just getting a little bit out of price. And Osako with 55, got a lot of points in goal kicks in this one. But he also got a try. So base was really low in this game. So 2 points net in tackles and 18 points in runs. So yeah, only 20 points in base for Osako. It's a little bit down. Definitely prefer Herbie, I think, as an option for the Dolphins. Even if Osako is much more affordable, I think you just want to pay out for Herbie. He's got the base stats. Like in this one, what did he score? Base power of this game, 9 plus 18, 17, 19, 20, what's that? 20, 34, 33, 40 points in base power for Herbie. Again, even that's probably a little bit down for what Herbie can normally deliver. Finally, Tigers and the Sharks. Obviously, very dramatic win in the end there for the Tigers with that penalty kick to Dewey, who didn't play, scored 62 points, but that's all right. And Terrell May, 108 points. Like, what the hell? This guy is just an absolute machine. Obviously, minutes were inflated a little bit in this game, that it went down to, I think, ended up on 89 minutes, 88, 89 minutes. So, Terrell May played 84 minutes in the front row. It's just, this man is a machine. Like, he's not human. 108 points in base power. Oh, and an intercept. I'll take that off him. 103 in base power. So him and Payne Haas both got 103 base power this round. Just captain one of these two every week, honestly. Like, I put that tweet out. Got a lot of traction, which was good. But, yeah, I captained Terrell May last week. And, honestly, last week was a very nice week captaining him because... Like, I think he was the last game of the round, Easter Monday. And I just looked at my score and I'm like, I'm getting 160 points from this guy. Like, I can't see this guy scoring any less than 80 points. In the end, he actually scored that line break try and got to like 100. He's probably going to update more because he has a lot of points in ineffective offloads. Yeah, he's got 12 points in ineffective offloads. He's going to go up to even more than 108, probably like 120. Yeah, as Tom is saying in the chat as well. 120 points, like just ridiculous. So, and I didn't consider him as a captain this week. Probably should have, just because of the matchup against the Sharks, who are a very, forward-heavy, middle-heavy team. Terrell May was going to do a lot of work in this game. It's going to be a bit of a grind. So, yeah, unfortunately, another lesson learned. In tough games, front rowers, it doesn't matter. They can do their work. Who do they play next week? They play the Dragons. You can easily see Terrell May getting some attacking stat against the Dragons as well. So, geez, it's going to be tough to not captain Terrell May next week. Even Payne Haas, for example. So, we'll talk more about that on the Tuesday stream. But, yeah, there's no reason to not captain these guys just week in, week out, if this is what they're going to be delivering. And this is probably the time to do it because I think during Origin, they're going to probably taper off when it comes to minutes. You'd have to think that Terrell May is playing Origin for New South Wales. Payne Haas is a certainty. So just enjoy it while you can, where you can look at your score before they play, and barring any HIA, you can just lock in minimum 65, 70 points. I think, unfortunately, people have been scarred as well by that Payne Haas one where he scored 51 points. Before that, he was killing it. And then people thought, oh, no, this is why we don't captain front rowers. And I think that was the same week that Clint Gutherson scored 130. So I think that week has probably, at least myself, has ruined it. Because people saw that week and thought, no, this is why you captain your fullbacks. And you don't captain your front rowers because they drop in a 50, 60 or a 70. Your fullbacks go huge. ever since that point, I think someone pointed out to me that Payne Haas says, if you had captained Payne Haas every week during the season, you would have netted 190 points a week from your captain. I will take that. I will take 190 points from my captain every week. That's for sure. If you can get pushed to 200 each week from your captain, you absolutely take that. So yeah, for me, I will very heavily consider the strategy now of just VC high upside or even VC a front rower. Like if Haas and May are playing opposite ends of the week, I can see myself going VC Haas, captain May, or I'll take like some Pappy, Teddy, Drinkwater early in the round, and then whatever front rower between Payne Haas and Troy May's playing later in the round, I'll just take them. But it's a very boring approach, but yeah, I think that's where I'm at the moment. Yeah, Dewey was okay in this game with 62. Samuel Lafine, who scored an early try, so that got him up to 76. Not much more relevance, I guess, out of the West Tigers in terms of other Supercoach options. Luai scored, again, only 29 points. Nothing too big there. Galvin was good with 66, but yeah, who knows how long he's going to be staying in that West Tigers team. For the Sharks, Muller Tyler was good for, I know the Whisperer has him as a bit of a point of difference, so he went big in this game with 103. And Fanul Blake also 76. Just wanted to quickly check what the minutes were. 62 minutes. I want to think that the minutes were maybe slightly inflated. So I'm not sure how much I'd read into the 62 minutes from Fanul Blake. His minutes have been a little bit lower than that in the last couple of rounds. So the last couple of rounds, his minutes were, 43, 43, and 55. So I think minutes were slightly inflated. I still do prefer, I think, a Tarpany to a Fanul Blake if you're looking at another premium front rower. Nico Hines, 70 points. I think he was on like 6 for a while at the beginning. So he pulled it back with a pretty good score. And again, this is another game that I missed a lot of the dropout attempts and whatnot. So I only saw that penalty kick at the end. So I definitely need to go back and rewatch the highlights of this one. McInnes, 55 points. I kind of said he was my preferred hooker option if you were buying, and again punched out a very safe 55 points. And on Hiroti, so he picked up an injury early in the game, so he only played 37 minutes and has scored 16 points. Jay Schubert has him projected for a break-even of 41 and going up 36k. So Hiroti owners have actually done quite well because he's going to make about 150k. It sounds like Iro's going to be back next week anyway, so Hiroti is probably not going to be changing in price. So he's one that you can just move on if you've identified a good option to target. But I know someone earlier in the stream was asking, is he a sell? Yeah, look, he probably is a sell now that Iro's back. It means he's not going to get back into that team, and you can cash in. You've made about 150k, which you would happily take. But yeah, I think he can be moved on. I'll try, and do some extra research. Sorry guys, I probably have to wrap up the stream very soon. But I do want to do a bit of research and just have a little bit more look into some cheaper center wings, because that does seem to be a position where people are going to be making trades on Tuesday. But yeah, I don't have the answers at the moment, unfortunately. So that's all the games wrapped up. And yeah, in terms of my team, what I'm thinking of doing next week, it probably will be something around Gutherson. I'm thinking Gutherson to maybe a Dylan Lucas, Aaron Clark maybe via flex. And then what I'll do is eventually maybe sell like an Egan or a Hubner or another front rower and get in Teddy that way via Dylan Lucas. That's my early thoughts, but I'll play around with it once the lockout ends. I could go Gutherson to Tedesco and then just downgrade maybe like an Egan or a Hubner to Savala. That could be the way that I get Teddy in. Then though, the problem is I'd be having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Roosters, and then round 10 will be a bit difficult. So probably won't get Savala and Teddy next week, but let's see how we go. Yes, in terms of past scores, I think 1,300 seems to be an okay score this week. Any higher than 1,350, 1,400, very good week. I've seen scores pretty wide this week, some in the 1,100s, some in the 1,200s. Like, for example, for context, I scored 1,311, and I'm only leading one of my 4 leagues. So I think generally people have done about 1,350. 1,311, I'm probably expecting small red arrows, maybe nothing too drastic, but I've seen some big 1,500 point scores this week as well. All right, guys, going to end the stream there. Please do give it a like if you did enjoy it. I'll put the audio out for this as well later tonight. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Didn't get to as many questions today, but we'll cover all of that good stuff on Tuesday for the preview stream. See you then, and catch you all in the next one. Cheers.